Episode is brought to you by Spick and Span Cleaning Services, owned by Tang, a mom of 3, and she specializes in commercial and residential cleaning. Follow her on Instagram at spickandSpan_LLC, and you can send her a free video consult. She could tell you how much your work is going to be. Book her now. Hey guys, welcome back to the Mommy's Anonymous podcast. It has been a crazy week, but every week has been changing so fast. They're getting busier and busier, but we are always finding time to meet back here in our safe space, in this place that is the most at home right now for me. So many things are unsure in all of my places of normal comfort that this has become the place for me. Just coming and talking and then interacting with you guys after you listen. It's just been a really good, it just feels like there's people really tuning in and, becoming a part and getting invested in what we have going on. So we are back. We're back. We made it another week. And today we're going to be talking about things that I wish I knew before becoming a mom. You can't plan everything, but I am a planner. I like to write everything down. I like writing lists. I like making 3-year plans, revising my 3-year plans every 6 months, and I write a plan for a plan all the time. And the one thing I feel like I dropped the ball on planning was when I was going to have kids or when I was going to get pregnant. I knew I wanted kids. I didn't really have a time frame, but I don't know if anybody really plans on having a child at 21. That was never my goal, but I wasn't disappointed when I found out I was pregnant. I think I said before in one of the other episodes that I had an abortion before. I've had 2, but I got pregnant when I was 17. So at that time it was just super not according to the plan. But by the time I was 21 and when I was 20 when I was pregnant with Dallas, me and Dez were already engaged, and we were planning the wedding. We got the wedding planned, and I think we planned it in 2 months because he found out he had to go to Korea and he was going to be gone for 13 months or something, which was terrible. And so I just we threw the wedding together. My mom, her friends, and I planned the whole thing. We made all our own invitations, doing everything on a budget. I'm glad I got married when I did before it became so big, and not even to call it a spectacle, but it just feels like it's a fashion show and it's a show for Instagram now. But it is beautiful to see. I've been to a couple weddings, the newer weddings, but they just seem so expensive. And 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago, when we got married, I was able to do it at a at a lower price because I was young and we weren't really planning for that so quickly. But I was 6 months pregnant at my wedding, and I still fit into my dress and everything, and nobody really knew. I didn't even tell Instagram or anybody. I still had a relatively large following at that time from making cakes, and I didn't even tell Instagram I was pregnant until I had him. I never posted. I wear big clothes all the time anyway. You hardly ever see me, obviously I'm in a crop top right now, but I wear a lot of hoodies, especially when I'm working. I wasn't hiding the pregnancy. Everybody around me knew about it, but I didn't feel like I wanted Instagram to know, to be judgmental, to be like, oh, can you really handle that? Can you do that? Are you going to be able to make my cake if you're pregnant or whatever? So the day Dallas was born, that was when I posted on Instagram, and I was just surprise. And it was a great moment. It was great to be able to keep something to myself, especially knowing that might be the last thing I kept to myself, the way that social media went. But I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I didn't even know what I wasn't expecting. Did you guys really sit and read that What to Expect When You're Expecting book? Or first of all, there's not enough colors and diagrams for me. I need things to be in larger writing. I need some interaction. I need a song or something to tell me what I should expect. But I couldn't really get into the book, and I was really busy running a business. I had just opened my first shop when I had Dallas, and I used to bring him to the bakery all the time. He was my sidekick. He was really quiet, though. He would sit in a little playpen. He would sit there, and I had swings in there for him. But I just didn't know all of the emotional parts that it required, and how you're not going to have a day off. Like, you're not going to be able to just go home and lay down. You got to go home, you got to get a baby out the car, in the house, and get the baby situated. And it's just so many other moving parts that I didn't know I had to think about. And maybe if people thought about them, they would just be able to have a more realistic view of what things were going to be like. So I'm like, we need to write a new book of what to expect when you're expecting. I'm gonna write that down, like, WTF, like, what's going on, and make it more accessible. Like, I think that there's a lot of moms that are coming into this, and they're gonna be caught off guard, and they definitely can handle it and will be able to adapt. But a more honest and real view of, like, your teeth getting weak while you're pregnant because the baby is sucking all of the nutrients out of your body. So you need to take, like, some people might need to take other pills, like other, like, vitamin E and vitamin D, and I know that's for depression. Like, it's a lot of different vitamins that you're supposed to take, as well as your prenatal vitamins. And it's like, it's a lot to keep up with. And then if you have multiples, or you have other children already, it's hard to keep up with all of those moving parts. And I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but I knew I wanted to be a mom. So I'm like, I know I'm gonna have a life to take care of, and a baby to love, and, you know, places to go, things to do, outfits to put on the baby. I knew all of that, but I didn't think that I was gonna be so stressed without any relief, and so alone being with children that are nonverbal. I didn't really know what it was going to feel like to not have any adult conversations for a week. Like, when Dez was in the Army and I was at home with just Dallas, I would talk to my employees at work and stuff, but when I got home, I was just like, with that, you know, it was just like, it was so quiet, unless it was crying. But I need something to stimulate my mind. Like, I need something and somebody, like, you know, now that Dez and I, they are there to bounce ideas back off of, like, that's exciting. But I could see how people, like single moms, can easily get, you know, lost in that silence, and get, you know, you feel so alone while you have babies, or a baby or multiple kids around you. How that feels, feeling alone when you're surrounded by babies that won't stop touching you and baby talking you. You know, you're trying to learn new people, and you don't even know yourself at the time, depending on when you have the baby and what you're going through at that time. Like, it's just so hard. I didn't know that your emotions could transfer to the baby. With Dallas, I'm really a go pregnant person. I know there's a lot of people that had negative pregnancy experiences. Fortunately, all three of mine have been pretty blissful. Besides, the last one was the hardest because I had an infant also, and Denham was so little. So that was the hardest pregnancy, having to pick him up and deal with him kicking my stomach and punching me and doing all that, you know, climbing on the baby. And that was just really hard. I didn't know that I was going to have to stop holding him on my hip at a certain point, and I just didn't think about that. I didn't think about how hard it would be to bend down and grab him real quick if he falls. So now my stomach, you know, it's just like the little things. Like, people are like, I want to have back-to-back kids. So when you think about back-to-back, you're just thinking of the convenience of, you know, your kids having a partner in crime to grow up with, you not having to do all these activities with them because they can play with each other eventually, and, you know, you won't have to be in diapers for too long. So yes, those are pros to having the back-to-back. But the biggest con for me was the relationship between Denham and I changed when I had Dash, because I couldn't pick him up for a while because you're not supposed to lift anything heavier than the little baby. So our attachment changed even when he was 1 year old, because I couldn't pick him up for a couple months because I could only hold Dash. So I can't imagine what that looks like or feels like to a baby who didn't know there was another baby coming home tomorrow. I'm sure he was shocked and caught off guard that now that fat lady has another attachment, and she's fat too. So it's just and now you can't really touch her and do much with her. So I just really felt like that was the biggest negative to having multiples. He's obviously adjusted and they're doing fine, but my mom guilt was on 10 because of it. One of the other things that I wish I knew before I got pregnant was that I would have no sex drive. Like, now this is like awkward to talk about. I think it's awkward for everybody to talk about, because you're not really talking. People don't really talk about the sex while you have the baby. They're just like, it's going to be fine for the baby, but how is it for the mother? How does the mother feel with this? Of course it feels fine for the guy. They can do anything with anything. However, the mother who's growing, said baby, what does this feel like? Now, I've heard mixed reviews from moms. Like, some people are just really into it. It's a great time. They're more sexual while they're pregnant and after they have the baby, which is kind of crazy. I don't know. I just never experienced that. My sex drive has always gone to the floor. But I don't know if it was because it was my sex drive or like how I was feeling about myself. It probably was a combination. Every week I probably had a new excuse, or every day I probably had a new excuse of why. Maybe I was tired, or my back was hurting, or my feet were hurting, or the baby was moving weird, or I was nauseous, or I was every day can be a new reason, because there are a million reasons that you don't want to have sex while you're pregnant. So I just feel like it was sex drive, and it was every other reason. Denim slept in our bed the entire time I was pregnant. Having kids sleeping in your bed is one of the many, many, many reasons why it's harder to have sex, which is a great reason for me to keep him in our bed so that I didn't have to have sex at that time, because I didn't really want to. I just wasn't feeling it. But Dez was super whatever, you're cool, he was understanding. It wasn't really a topic of discussion. We had some pretty good sex to get us here pregnant, but whenever we find out we're pregnant again, it's just dang, that sucks. It sucks. It's about to be some lonely nights, brother. But I feel like more people should talk about that being normal, so you don't feel like you have to do something you don't want to do, or you're wrong for your sex drive changing. When we're talking about breastfeeding, how you're nursing all day. Some people are nursing their 1 and 2 year old children. So imagine 2 years after having a baby, you being touched out and you not wanting somebody else to come and touch you, or your sex drive can be lower because you're also squirting milk at the same time. So it's that doesn't seem like it's going to be pretty sexy. That was something I used to think about. I wasn't trying to have sex until after my boobs dried up, because I just couldn't imagine having sex with a nipple pad inside of my bra and then it popping out, and it ruins the mood. I embarrass very easily, so it really wouldn't have been, it just didn't seem like a sexy time. But then once I start feeling myself a little bit more, then obviously we got pregnant right away again. As soon as I started feeling better and feeling, more like Jordyn and more like the person that he's with, and more like, his wife again, and I feel like I look like his wife, and I'm feeling better too. And I didn't want to lose that spark with Dez. I didn't want to lose that, people are like, well, aren't you worried? No, I'm not worried. But, of course, you're always thinking about that type of stuff, which is another anxiety, for you. I hate that I feel like I can't do everything for my man that I, would want to do. Or I feel like I don't feel threatened, but that is something that goes through mom's mind, especially during postpartum, when your mind is doing a bunch of stuff. Your mind is going crazy, telling you that telling you you're a terrible mom, telling you you're a terrible person, that this was a horrible idea, that you can't handle it. It's not far off to think that your person doesn't like you anymore or isn't attracted to you anymore. That's definitely up there in the symptoms of where you're at after the baby. After, you get 6 weeks before you're supposed to have sex, and I have heard from a few guys before via Instagram, just hearing stories about people being insensitive with women. After the 6 weeks, y'all think that everything is just peachy, but that's when you have the appointment. That's when you really, there's a live human that just came out that thing. So it's 6 weeks. They're really, a lot of people think about it like it's the vagina check, but it really is the mom check, and it's the, are you okay? Are you, how are you feeling? That should be the check about the postpartum and how you are adjusting to the baby, and not just, you're supposed to check and make sure you're together, but a lot of the way that we think about it, or a lot of women and moms, especially young moms, are thinking about it. It's like you just know you're going back to see if you're all good to have sex. I'll speak for myself. That's what I thought. And I knew I wasn't. I knew I would feel better. I was back walking right after I had the kids. I was back, back to work, back making cakes. I can never take off too long. I can never be off my feet for too long. So it doesn't really matter what the doctor says to me, especially about my physical. I don't really want to know anything bad because I don't have time to go back. I don't have time to check. I don't have time for anything to be wrong with me. Like when I had Dash, they not messed up, but something happened with my IV on my arm. My arm was swollen. So for the whole first week, I had a huge, like my arm was humongous. And so it was hard to hold the baby, hard to hold the car seat. I had to take him to the emergency room on my birthday. Dash was born on September 3rd. My birthday is September 11th. And I was in the emergency room with him because he was still nursing. And to fix my arm. Now I'm taking antibiotics. And now it's just like I didn't have time for that. And it's just, you never have time. You don't really know what you don't even have time for. You don't know what to expect. So the what to expect when you're expecting, it's like expect anything, be ready for everything. So it's kind of like I want to know all of the options. I want to know all of the ways. So when we talk about sex, so some people are going to have a crazy sex drive. Some people are going to have a maybe okay, but then some people are going to have none. It's like I want to hear about everything so I can say, okay, I'm somewhere on this spectrum. So it makes you feel like you're still a part of the motherhood thing and you're not doing it wrong if you know that it's both extremes. I want to know that some people are super overjoyed when they first see their baby, but then some people just really, they've had such a hard time with the labor, be it they were in labor for 20 hours or whatever, and they, all that we go through, all that your body is traumatizing. Pushing that baby out is traumatizing what your body goes through, which is why I think that afterwards we're just like, it was so great, because it's over. It's trauma. It's like having PTSD. And you can't really look back and see all the bad parts. Like, I know during the labor, it was bad. But right after, when it was over, I promise you, I was just like, wow, that was great. And I feel like that's a little bit of a psychosis. Like, this feels like a mental illness, motherhood, a little bit. Like, I feel like we push all of the bad to the back of our head more often than not, which is great. But we have to give a well-rounded view of what's going on when we're talking about it. So that it just feels like you're really giving a real experience. Telling people all the happy, joy all the time, it's draining for you to have to keep up with. It will be surprising when people find out how you're really feeling, but not if you're being honest with your experience. And it's like people will give you more grace if you're being honest, if you're telling them, like, the baby hasn't slept. I remember the first transparent message that I kind of put on Instagram before I thought about starting the podcast was about how Dash slept through the night for 2 consecutive nights for the first time, and he was like 13 months old. And everybody was like, wow, I did not know that you guys have been dealing with that. Like, you guys have not been to sleep since I was pregnant with Denim, because Denim was born, we were up through, he never slept through the night for real. He was sleeping in our bed kicking us, and I was pregnant through the second half of his first year. And so then and Dash was just so colicky. He was so it was just so challenging adjusting to having like a siren in our home. Like he's louder than the other children. He's like a louder decibel, like a whale. Like how whales are louder and you can hear them from miles away. That's how Dash feels for me. But I never experienced something like that. And I didn't even know that colic could last that long. I didn't know what caused colic. I didn't know what could fix it. I didn't know. Like, he very well could have had an aversion to milk or something, because it's like a gas thing. But he constantly wanted the thing that also, he liked the thing that also made him fussy. So the adjustment to the third child really kind of pushed me to the place that we are, feeling like, where do we go from here? What do we do in this situation? Feeling like everything is fighting against me. COVID, all these things. That's something I wish I knew before I became a mom, that was even going to be a thing. Like, the pandemic happening was not in my family planning. Not being able to take my kids to the park wasn't in my planning. Not being able to walk and, be outside, get some vitamin D. Me being depressed wasn't in my plans. Me being locked down wasn't in my plans. I planned on being a different kind of mom, but now I'm a pandemic mom, and that looks a little bit different. And it's like we're adjusting, but what to expect? We can't expect anything, but we have to expect everything. One of my most proud moments was getting my babysitting license as a 13-year-old, because I was officially able to babysit all of the neighborhood children. I've always just wanted to make my own money and work for myself, so I really started a babysitting business. It was really a couple of kids. They're grown now, which is crazy, but I definitely always had a nurturing thing about me. I wanted to more so be a teacher. I don't know if it was really motherhood I was aiming for, but I liked babysitting. I had a license, so now I have a lot of skills for motherhood that I didn't know I was gonna need, like being able to know how to do the Heimlich, and I have to do that more often than I thought I would, because Dash likes to put any and everything in his mouth and not chew because he don't have enough teeth in the back and whatever. Denim feeding the baby fruit snacks at 6 months, like super dangerous. You have to be having your eyes on them at all times. Like, that was a skill that I had to pull back from my archive of how to take care of kids in these emergency situations. But that's something I think that we need as mothers to do before having the babies at all. But I don't know if I had time while I was pregnant. I guess there might be classes that people take so they can learn how to do stuff with a baby. I never had time to do them because I've always been working and running a business. I don't have any time off. But I know there's other people and other moms that are busy too. Y'all have corporate jobs. Y'all are stay-at-home moms. You guys have other children. So when do you make time to do the extra little classes, the yoga, the Lamaze and all those things, and the plans for having a doula meeting? Like, I ain't know nothing about that. That just sounded like another something I needed to do. On top of all of the doctor's appointments while I was pregnant, I've never done any motherhood class or anything. I just really never had time. So that's the only thing that will probably get me to ever have another baby, is kind of trying to experience it the way that moms that I know thoroughly enjoy their motherhood experience, because I think they planned better. Like, you plan for this, you save for this. Like, if you know you need to pay for a doula or the, what do they call, the night nurses, sometimes they had, you guys saw on Instagram, maybe that girl whose page went viral. Their thing went viral talking about how she had a night nurse come for the first 8 weeks or something, where she would go to sleep. She showed a reel where she was, setting up her little lavender. She went, took a bath while the baby was like with the night nurse. And I'm like, this sounds like a dream. Like, if I had all of this together, then that would have been beautiful. If I would have gotten some sleep. Like, people not thinking that we're being serious when we say we aren't getting any sleep. It's like, if we just had a little more sleep, if we just had a little bit more to eat, if we just had a little bit more structure, we wouldn't be struggling so much with motherhood, because we could handle it better. Like, how are we supposed to have the mental capacity to do all these things and still deal with the hormones that, the pregnancy, the baby being out of you, the mommy hormones, when the baby cries, your nipple starts to leak, like all these things that are happening out of our control in our body. It's like, if you can plan better, maybe, oh shit. Sorry, guys. Hi, Des. Nothing. We're recording. All right. Bye-bye. He made it home with the children, so that's great. Okay, but like I was saying, we are at work. Des is usually here while we record. That is so funny. Okay, but I feel like if we were able to prepare better for motherhood, you might know, like, if we were able to sleep better, if we were able to get more energy from food, from working out, from having me time, from being able to go for walks, if you can schedule your time away, being with your partner. I couldn't imagine the impact of sleeping in our room just together without the crib in there, like how that could have been in the first year, like how we, how much quicker we would have been able to reconnect if we had another person there to help with the baby, because somebody's always being pushed and pulled by the baby. And if it's me, I'm irritated because I feel like you should be, I want everything to be even. Like, it's hard having all the responsibility of the feeding of the child while you're nursing. Like, you're like literally the nurturer of the baby. Like, every time the baby cries, the dads seem to think that the baby's hungry, so they bring the crying baby to you. It's like, what about when the baby's smiling? Bring the baby to me then. Let me play patty cake with the baby then. Like, we only get the baby when it's a crisis. And it's like, that's not the type of, I don't even want to see the baby when it's crying. Now, if the baby started crying while I was holding it, then I would, be able to adjust. But that just always sucked, because what did you do? What happened to the baby? Why is he crying again? It's just something I don't think I could have planned for was how postpartum would affect me. And how shocking it was to me that my emotions would be so out of control. And, my doctor advising me to take anxiety medicine, but also to not nurse while I'm on anxiety medicine seems like a contradiction. It seems like my mental health is a direct opposition to my motherhood journey. Like, I couldn't take care of my mental health because I'm taking care of my kids. So if I'm nursing, so then it's like, okay, well, if I decide to take care of my mental health, then I'm making a decision to stop nursing the baby, and that feels like that's selfish, right? Or like, what is selfish anymore? I feel like that's why motherhood, I think, it's like a selfless thing. It's not even the amounts, the ways that parents, and I won't just give it to moms, because I know dads do too, but the amount that parents have to sacrifice, this is such a thankless job. We will never get thanked enough for all the things that we do in front of doors, behind closed doors. Kids will never know how much we're sacrificing. Like, I have been anxious every single day since I found out I was pregnant with Dallas, because now I have a life outside of myself that I care about, and that brings me anxiety. I want to know that he's okay. I want all the time. I want to know where he is. I'm always thinking about my kids and like where they are. It's a different, my heart's racing. My heart is being pulled in a lot of different directions, and that'll never stop, because I'm going to be a mom forever. And that is a huge weight on you. It's a beautiful thing to feel that type of love, but that is hard. Like, that is a lot to love somebody unconditionally. And your children, that is, sometimes people don't even experience unconditional love until they have a child, which is when they start to realize other type of relationships might not be what they thought it was. Because now it's like, oh, this is what unconditional love feels like, or whatever. But it's like, it's sickening how much I love them. Like, it makes me sick thinking about it. I love them so, like, it's everything inside of me, but it's the best and the worst decision I've ever made. Like, it was so, to be a mom, like, it's the best decision because of the lives that I've created with my husband and the love that we've been able to personify with the children. Like, it's just like, this is the ultimate thing. Like, I don't even know what we could have done more. Like, we've done amazing. Like, this feels so good, but it's like, it's pulling me to the depths of some deep, dark places of finding myself. I'm trying to find myself so fast and fix myself so fast so that I can hurry up and be the best mom I can be real quick for them. Like, I'm trying to hurry up and get healed, and hurry up and get okay, and hurry up and get financially stable, and hurry up and get all the things right for them, so that, as they grow, they're seeing more, they're bigger, they're sponges. Like, yeah, Dallas he's over the threshold. Like, he sees all the stuff we're going through now. But, like, do I have to let my baby see any version of this type of mom? Like, do I have to let these little ones see their mom crying and remember it? Or can I get healed before then? Can I, can something change in me? So that's like my constant thing. But that requires work and therapy and self-care and, time to yourself. And, a problem that I'm having is really not being able to make time for self-care, because that is also my biggest, source of mom guilt, is taking any time or feeling like any time away from them is self-care. Like, why don't I feel like I'm taking care of myself while I'm being with them? Like that, it sucks sometimes, but I'm trying to get better at it. Like I said, I loved being pregnant, but I was terrified to bring that baby home. Like, I was like, that's the part. Once we had to get sent home from the hospital, I was like, this is about to be a huge adjustment with, you don't even know this person. So that's crazy. They don't know who you are, talking and smiling to these kids, and they can't hardly even see you. Did you guys know that the babies can't even see like past this far like a arm's length away from them and their baby arm's length away for a while. So while you all in their face, they can't see anything. Once I knew that, I started to like be a little bit more aware of the stimulus around them. Like, I'm not trying to have everybody in their face if they can't see them anyway. You know, people getting all close, and COVID kind of helped us be more protective with our kids and keeping them safer. Because used to be like back in the day, 3 years ago, we would have a baby, we go on to the barbecue. Like, we'll be at the barbecue as soon as that 7 days is over with and we can get outside. Like, I'm trying to get outside. But with COVID, we got trapped in the house, and all these babies have just been with themselves and their moms. And I know my kids were probably irritated with us too. Like, y'all sit around some adults that don't know how to play right. We don't want to do all the things that you're doing. So it's like motherhood being a no take back situation. Like, once you're in that pregnancy, once you're in that motherhood journey, you can't just decide like not it no more. It's like that's not an option. To be able to take a break, you have to also, it requires work to even get that break. Looking around for babysitting, looking around for, times that your kids are already in daycare, conflicting times of their schedules. Like, all of that makes me not want to do whatever self-care. Like, that's not self-care anymore. If I have to figure out something else, I just would rather just keep my regular routine. Just like kids like structure and routine, I need the same thing. I like to know what we're doing every day, and it throws me out of whack too. Like, being in Chicago, for me, it's hard being a mom in all winter because don't nobody want to go outside. Don't nobody want to put all these coats and snow pants and risk the kids getting sick and stuff. So it's like our activities are limited. So I think often people that live in sunnier states and sunnier areas are so much happier than us in these gloomy states, and it's chilly outside. Like, I think people we see these people on Instagram running with their kids in the strollers. Like, where are we about to do that at, y'all? Where do I get to do that and feel comfortable, where it's warm enough, where all of those risks, it's like our fun and our leisure is limited. So now we're stuck in this house, and now it's like, what do we get to do? Well, now we have to come up with games inside to play rather than just letting them be wild. I know Dallas's kindergarten teacher told us that his hands were weak because he was having a hard time tying his shoes. I thought it was because I don't know how to teach nobody how to tie shoes, because I just wear Uggs every day, and then I wear Crocs in the summer. So like, I switch it up. Uggs or Crocs, no shoestring shoddy. But now it's time to teach my kid how to tie his shoes. I get frustrated 3 times after you drop the loop-de-loop. So now you need Velcro shoes, in my opinion. But those little things with the COVID kids, I'm learning, it's because they're not outside. They're not swinging on monkey bars. Their hands aren't getting strong. They're not holding on to the bike rails. They're not doing that stuff that we were doing, like holding balls, we're like throwing stuff. Like, that's kind of what made us kids, like being able to fall down and get back up. Dallas is so afraid of falling down. Like, it's just like, what are you talking about, boy? You better get up. That type of stuff is hard to, I'm just trying to be the type of mom I saw, and it's harder because I have to do more activities because we're in COVID, and I have to be more creative and more innovative, and I don't know if I have time to do all of that, but I'm making time. I'm just saying that it's hard to make time, and it's another full-time job. That statistic about parents only getting 32 minutes to themselves a day it rings so loud in my ear. Then people that don't have kids that are like, oh my God, I can't wait to have a baby. Like, once you see a cute smiling baby on Instagram, like, that's what you think when you see this picture. Like, that's what you're thinking about. I understand people wanting to have children, but not for the reasons of cuteness, not for the reasons of adorableness, because there's a lot of adorable things that you could get that are less maintenance than a baby. But once you're there, it's kind of like, we're here now. I'm definitely taking pictures of these babies every single time they do smile. We're trying to project this happiness and magnify, like put this on a billboard, about motherhood. It is great. I want to magnify and bring light to all of the happy moments too, because they are worth it. The fact that we're able to have PTSD about motherhood and is feeling like a little bit of a mental illness is because the good does outweigh the bad somehow. Like, even when we're crying and stuff, like, how are we still able to be as happy as moms if we're dealing with all of the stress too? But that's because the good outweighs the bad. And it always will, because, you can yell at a kid right now and they're going to still come and, that's so sweet. Like, these kids love us. So it's worth it. But there's so many things I just wish I knew, so I could know what I'm dealing with. I want to know the cards. I want to know all of the different obstacles. I didn't know anything about what happens when your baby needs to be put in an ambulance. Like, things like, what happens when, like, what are your rights? What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do when doctors, like, I remember this is stressful. I took Denim to the hospital right before COVID started. And it probably was like a little bitty version of COVID, because the nurse told us that he had flu B. So whatever that is, that's what they called it in, what was it, December of 2018 was flu B he had. So he couldn't breathe, all the respiratory things. He was like gasping and stuff. We were in the hospital for 14 days. We were at a children's hospital, because I remember feeling pregnant and asking for a pregnancy test at the hospital, and they said they didn't have any pregnancy tests on that wing of the hospital because it was a children's side, so whatever. But I didn't really think about the impact of, like, a kid getting sick, how that rocks your world and your household. Like, what happens when I have another child at home? They won't let they didn't let kids under a certain age come to the hospital. What would Dallas do if Dez wasn't here? What would Dallas do if Dez had work? And he did. Like, all of these things, I'm like, I can be at the hospital. There's so many other parts. People do not care about your other kids. It's so hard not being considered, not being thought of. Like, I'm here with this baby who can't breathe. Y'all are doing a respirator on his mouth, and I don't know much about nursing, and besides Grey's Anatomy. I mean, I do think I'm a Grey's Anatomy doctor. I know a lot of medical terms and medical facts and things, but I'm no doctor, to say the least. I'm just a mother. But when they were doing certain things with him, I felt like they were wrong, because I'm a mom, and now he's breathing worse than he was before. But I don't know what I can do as a mom. How do I stand up for myself and my child if I've never even really stood up for myself before, because I'm a young mom? Like, I've never had much adversity. Like, I'm not really, I'm not a fighter, stuff like that. But I have to stand up for my kids. Like, I don't feel rowdy about nothing until it comes to my children. That's another part of me that has emerged since having children. It's another side of me that I never saw before. Nobody's ever had the ability to hurt me unless you hurt my child, because I've never felt a hurt until anyone has hurt my child. I'm like, if this is what pain feels like when your child is sad or when your child is sick. So I have to find my voice for my children. I had to come out of my shell and stand up for them when it's stuff at school and stuff with the doctors. I'm not about to let y'all keep doing something that's making him. I have a video of him breathing so crazy, y'all, but I had to step in and say no. And we had they called another hospital. He got transferred to another hospital in an ambulance. I had to ride in an ambulance with him. I've never experienced anything like this. Dallas was, super healthy, super great. And, of course I feel guilty. Like, have I ever smoked in front of Denim? Yeah. So when I'm thinking that it could possibly have any reason to do with anything I've ever done, that's that mom guilt. It's sliding back in. Even though it turned out to not be anything related to that, that's where my mind's going. As soon as that baby can't breathe, like, I felt terrible. But also, I need to stand up for him in a moment. I'm not really sure, but I know what I'm looking at. These people don't care about our kids like we do. Nobody does. So you got to have your voice. You got to find your voice. And so that's something I didn't know before becoming a mom. I'm about to have something to fight for more than myself. I have something to care for more than myself. I've never been, I'm like, it's that mama bear thing. That's the real thing. If I would say anything, once you have that baby and they try to take the baby out the room, like, oh yeah, we're just going to go over here. And it's like, no, that's the instinct that comes. It might not just be all the love. This baby looks crazy, and is crying, so the love emotions might come the next day. And I think a lot of the love emotions come like when you start nursing, and when you start like that, those hormones are really kicking in. But that mama bear instinct, that I'll do anything to protect my child instinct, is something that will be lasting forever. And it should last forever, because I will go to the ends of the earth for them. I don't even know what that looks like. I don't even know what I'm going to have to do, but it's whatever. And that's something I don't know what to expect. But whoever gets on anything with my children can expect to see me. That's, what to expect from me. So last week we started a new segment called the Mom Guilt of the Week, because I usually don't even just have one. It's always something every single day that I am, beating myself up over. And this week I've been unable to do the bedtime routine with them every single day due to the news coming out almost every day this week, and us recording, and I've just had various reasons, just work, like every day having a reason that I can't cook dinner, I can't tuck you in, I haven't seen y'all all day, and that really sucks. But it's some days this might be the sacrifice. This is like, I'm like, this might not be a guilty thing, but it does feel bad while I'm in it. Like when I come home at 10 o'clock from the bakery and they're sleeping, it sucks. I didn't get to see them once. I want to go in and just say hello, but I wouldn't dare do that, because if they wake up, I'm going to be blue. So, it's just, that's something I thought I was going to be a bedtime routine, read a story, do the bedtime and all that every night, and cooking dinner. I thought that was going to be my reality, but that's not my season right now. So it's not saying that I won't be able to do that eventually, but I was feeling guilty about that every day. And now looking back at the week and thinking about how I haven't tucked a single baby in all week, it just like, I feel absent sometimes when life is doing its life thing on this side, when I got other work to do, when I got other responsibilities and things to care about outside of my kids. It does make me feel like a bad mom, and I still have to do it all, so it doesn't really matter. But that's something I'm going to have to add into my plans when next time, if we ever plan on having another baby. I need a chef. If we have a chef, so this is my $1 million plan. If we get to a point where we are making millions of dollars and we have our doula, we have our birthing classes that I would like to take prior to having the baby, I want to save up for a night nurse so we, can have somebody sleep for 8 hours with the baby. And back to that story, y'all know I have ADHD. That girl that went viral on TikTok and Instagram about having a night nurse for 8 weeks, she got a lot of backlash because they're like, wow, she not being with her baby, that's when you're supposed to bond. I don't want to bond with a baby at night. I don't necessarily think that that's a time that I need that time. Like, the baby can be getting sleep trained more than I know how to sleep train a child. Somebody has been trained to do these things with babies, to swaddle them, to get them in their crib. That's why we had our babies in the bed with us for so long, because we didn't do those things and we didn't know how, so we didn't do them. So I don't know if our kids were better off because they had us doing all this loosey-goosey parenting when we could have planned and paid for somebody to step in and kind of be that advisor for us for those first 8 weeks of the baby, so we can do that. A lot of people thinking that was a reflection of her motherhood negatively. I feel like you didn't have kids, or you think that motherhood is associated with struggle, or it should be. Everybody that's a mom or a dad knows how hard it is overnight with the kids. So it shouldn't be dang, why is she doing that? You know exactly why she has a night nurse. I would love to have a night nurse. I would love to have freedom. I would love to have sleep. I would love to have beauty sleep. My grandma used to tell me if I didn't go to sleep, I wasn't going to get any beauty sleep, and I was going to stay ugly. Like, that's what she used to say, like stuff like that. Like, I always think about that though, like, damn, this going to stick this time. I ain't slept in weeks. And like, I'd never know. Like, I always look tired. You know how people love to say that to moms, like, oh my God, you look so tired. Like, what do you think I feel when you say that? What do you think that feels like to a person that knows they look tired? Because I am tired. Like, I know I look and feel I am. My body look it. I feel I'm not doing nothing right. But you don't have to mention that. Say something else. Hell. Or don't say anything. Like, you don't have to compliment people when you see them. You don't have to, or say something about their appearance when you see them. You could just say hi. You know, people will be like, oh, girl, you looking good today. Look at them titties. Something like that. You know, people love to say something, but sometimes when you don't have anything to say or you don't know how this compliment is going to go over, like people wanting, you know, saying, oh, wow, you look so good, girl. What, you been working out? And me, like, literally, I'm just starving. And, you know, I'm depressed and I'm stressed right now. So that's why I'm so small. You don't have to mention anybody's weight. It's kind of like, let's think about the topic of the week, the alopecia situation. You shouldn't have to know what somebody's going through for you to be respectful of what they have going on appearance wise. If you see somebody skinny, you don't know if I am anorexic or I'm intentionally trying to be small. I've never been this small in my life. I have to buy new clothes. That's really annoying that I can't fit any of my stuff. So it is negative for me. I know it looks good to some people, but to a person that wants to not rebuy clothes, this is not positive for me. I want a cheeseburger. You feel me? Like, I want to eat. I want to have an appetite again. I want to not look skeletal. I want to not, like, when I look in the mirror, I'll be like, off. I hate when I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror sometimes. I don't look like myself. And it's just such a hard adjustment. Like, because who is this bitch? And now, like, I don't even know who. You don't even look like yourself. You don't feel like yourself. You can't fit any of your old clothes that make you feel like yourself. So it's just a really tough thing. But just being graceful, like treating everybody kindly and having grace and being gentle with everybody regardless of what they're going through. People could be people that I read somewhere this girl had gained some weight because she was pregnant, lost the baby, and then people kept asking her like, oh damn girl, you gained weight, you falling off and all this stuff. But little do y'all know, she was just like growing a baby, and unfortunately she no longer is. So that's a super negative thing to say. That's why you don't ask people if they're pregnant. You don't know what's going on. People, after they lose babies or have a stillborn or any of these crazy things, abortions, all of that, their bodies still reflect what they once had or whatever they were going through. People's stomach stays large for a long time. They might have thyroids. They might have all these different things that y'all don't know about. So stop talking about what people look like, because that snapback culture, all that stuff, you're thinking like, oh, as soon as I had this baby, I hope I snap back. But like, where does that even come from? Snap back what? Like, I hope I snap back into some sanity. Like, I hope I snap back into something that feels normal, that feels like myself, but not like my body isn't me, you know. My hair, like, you know, my hair being thin and shit like that. All those different things about myself that are different for me. I'm having to adjust to all of them. I just would like for everybody not to notice. Like, I would like to fade into the back and just be able to wear a hat and be invisible. But people like to, you know, they think that these are things that make us happy to hear, and that's definitely not. For me, as a mom, I don't really want to hear about that, because what does any of these have to, I don't even know what I look like today, you know. I'm just here, I'm just riding the wave. But I just feel the takeaway for this episode is there's nothing to expect when you're expecting. There's nothing that is going, I feel like we should be as well informed as possible, do as much research as you possibly can, pretend like you are creating a business plan, because this baby is just as risky and just as unpredictable and has just as much to it as a plan. Like, what are you about to do? How are you going to pay for this baby? How are you going to, what happens when baby gets sick? Like, all those things, just have all the plans, do as much as you can. Even if something doesn't go right, it might make you feel better and less anxious because you have, you know, the fire escape plan. What is it? The tornado plan. You got, you know, canned food and stuff. Don't you feel better that you have? It's like having insurance. Knowing more so you can do better. Knowing that there's no perfect mother so that you can not feel less than once you are whatever kind of mother you turn out to be. But the kids need a happy mom, so that's always what I'm striving to be. That's all I know that I'm striving to do. And even in my sadness right now, I'm being more expressive with my 7-year-old, who is aware, and he sees me. He saw us on the news and he's like, what's going on with the bakery? And it's like, you know, he's like, are you famous? And now you're hearing me talking about the eviction. It's like, but it's like, I'm very transparent with my truth. So if nothing else, my kids are learning that, and there's nothing wrong with what exactly is going on, because it's your life. So don't be ashamed, you know, don't don't shy away from the truth, because the truth might be the thing, it's so cliche, that set you free. Hell, but it is, like, it really is the doors have been opening since I've let that shame go and let that pride go. So if I have a lesson, just let it go. And the guilt, the shame, so that's mom guilt too. We have to let that go, and every day I expect less of myself, and I give myself more and my kids more. So, we'll see you guys on the next episode of the Mommy's Anonymous podcast. Everything has been, it's been great. The update on the bakery is we have almost reached our goal for this $25,000. And I told y'all I didn't know what was going to happen, but we have faith, and God got us, and things are really looking up in more ways than I can even imagine. I can't wait to update you guys some more. But thank you again for tuning in, for liking, subscribing, commenting, interacting with me. I appreciate every type of engagement, every type of, encouragement. It's definitely, I feel it all. So thanks, guys. See you next time.